G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome everyone. Today I'm interviewing Gail Mercer-Mackay from Mercer-Mackay based in Peterborough, just out of Toronto, Canada. Thanks for your time today, Gail.
Hey, thanks, Troy, for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Love your podcast. It's fantastic.
Thanks. Let's start with how we know each other. So Faisal on our team, who's based in Pakistan, reached out and asked you to come on the cast.
He sent a lovely email. And what really impressed me about the email was he really did a lot of research. Mm-hmm. And so it was not like a cold call. It was a cold reach out, but it was one that was well crafted and well understood, caught my attention, and I dug a little further, and I'm really happy I did.
That's great. I don't think I even asked him to do that. That's fantastic. He's got an outreach project because we're committed here on the cast to keep the balance 50-50 male and female on the cast. So he's looking in Canada, UK, US, and the Middle East and Asia, anywhere outside Australia really, for female business owners. So thank you very much for coming on the cast.
Well, again, thanks for the invite.
Tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
So we're a marketing agency and we serve the technology sector. So we have clients all around the world, predominantly focused in the Microsoft partner ecosystem. And we're a full service agency. We do everything that helps them tell their story, make noise, drive leads. And then separately, something that started a few years ago is we've built a marketing platform on Microsoft software to serve Microsoft partners so that can self-serve. We're calling it marketing as a service. And it's a combination of templates and processes and wizards and access to experts. So those are our two main streams for revenue.
Out of interest, which platform in Microsoft Tech are you using for that?
We are using Microsoft Dynamics.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I've never used that. SharePoint, probably 10 years ago was the last time I touched it, but I was very impressed with it. But yeah. And how did you start out?
How did I start out? Oh, man. Well, I guess the fast story is right out of university, I fell into a job at a software distribution company in their office. I was just an office manager. And I liked the software so much that I would get on the phone in my spare time and tell the customers to book training, tell them that we had free training, we had training credits, get them to buy more training. And at the end of 12 months, we've gone from running training 2 days a week to running it full time and needing 3 full-time trainers.
Wow.
So the president of the company called me in and said, we're moving you onto our sales team. And I said, sales? I know nothing about sales. And he said, you've been selling for the last year. I said, no, I've been talking about training. I love training.
Yeah.
And he said, no, you've been selling. So the interesting thing that I think for me that was interesting before I ever took that job, and I was in university and I was asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do when you finish school? I said, I don't know what I want to do, but there's 2 things I will never do. I will never go into sales and I will never own my own company. And those were the 2 things. Those were the 2 things I've done in my career, and I love them both.
Oh, great. And so what year did you start out?
What year did I start out? I graduated, or I left university. I actually didn't graduate. I left university around 1980. And that's when I started working. Yeah.
But starting up your first business, what year was that?
Oh, my first business was 2007.
Mm-hmm.
I had a pretty long career in sales, in technology sales. And I reached, the pinnacle, the goal for me was I was VP of sales and marketing for a global ISV software company, and I was fired. And that was devastating to me. I thought, oh my, being fired just completely threw me. I was not expecting it. And I took a little respite. I shut all my phones off. I jumped in my car, threw in my golf clubs, and I drove down to Alabama and I golfed the Robert Trent Jones Trail, if you know that golf course, that series of golf courses at all in Alabama. And every morning before I golfed, I would get up and I would journal for 3, 4, 5 hours. I would get up at 4 a.m. and journal. And at the end of 2 weeks, the predominant theme in my journaling was that I wanted to be a writer. I somehow wanted to be a writer. So I came back and I said, I'm going to leave technology sales and I'm going to be a writer. And all my friends who were writers said, that's crazy. You're going to starve. There's no money in writing.
Yep.
And I said, well, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm somehow going to turn writing into a moneymaker for me. And so that's how I started my first business. I hung up my shingle as a writer.
Mm-hmm.
I called a former employer of mine and he said, great, I want to hire you as a salesperson. And I said, well, I'm not selling anymore. I'm writing. And he said, oh, he goes, well, I need some marketing writing. He said, could you do some marketing writing? I said, sure. He said, what would you charge me? I said, what's your budget? He said, I have $2,000 a month. I said, that's exactly what I would charge you. So that's how we started out. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. So you started really focusing on marketing content in 2007?
I did. I started focusing on marketing content. And, you know, the one thing I had learned over the years in sales is that technology companies don't really know how to tell their own story very well, particularly the smaller ones who are doing amazing things and building incredible technology. And the story is not about the technology. The story is always about the transformation.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's really what I've tried to do right from the beginning. We call ourselves Mercer-Mackay Digital Storytelling, and we really try to help our customers get to the heart of how they help their customers transform, change, revolutionize as a result of the technology. So that's what we do. And we've grown year over year since we started.
It's something that I've discovered probably in the last 10 years that's really powerful, the power of copy or the written word. Have you read David Ogilvy's book, Advertising Man?
I have not.
A great book. So he got into advertising late. I think he's in his 40s. So I think the Mad Men series are based on him, but he was obviously, a guru in the 1950s when, print was still very big, but TV was coming on as well. And just the power of words, it's just phenomenal.
What I try to do is when I finish copy for a client, I always just try to make sure that there's emotion evoked. I want to cry. I want it to bring me to move me to some level of emotion when I finish with copy. And that's what I train all of our writers. We train all our writers on doing the same thing. And in fact, we hire our writers out of creative writing schools, out of masters of creative writing. We do not hire technologists. We hire creative writers and storytellers because they know how to bring a story. The tech we can teach them. Yep. It's the storytelling that they need to be able to do.
Yeah. And I think a lot of small businesses undervalue or don't really appreciate that power of good copywriting and the word. Mm. And so how old were you in 2007 when you decided to start up or you fell into this?
So I think I was 52. I'm trying to remember. I don't really think of my age anymore. Yep. I'm 65 now. So yeah, I think it was 52. Yeah. I think, I don't know. I think I was 52, but I hung my shingle out. And, the interesting thing, and I hope this might be interesting for some of the listeners, is my biggest fear, of course, is that I wasn't going to have enough money. I had lived through in a period of my life where I'd lived through some poverty. I had to go to the food bank to feed my kids. And ever since that time, I was always really nervous about running out of money, which is why the firing was such a big, hard impact for me. Mm. So I realized that if I had this fear of money in that first year of getting started, of not having enough money, that it would sabotage my ability to be successful. So I looked at my savings, I looked at my budget. I said, what is the minimum number I need to survive and be successful? And it was $48,000.
Yeah.
So I looked at my savings and I had $48,000 in there. I said, okay, I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to leave that. And I'm just going to focus on trying to find work and trying to grow this business. And at the end of the year, I had made $80,000 in year one. So I never needed to touch the $48,000. I'd made $80,000. And when you're a sole entrepreneur, business owner, you're not taxed as heavily on $80,000. So $80,000 went a really long way. And I thought, this is really cool. I've had a great year. I only report to myself. I don't have any of that office politics.
Yep.
I'm sitting in my armchair in the morning and I'm writing every single day. I'm creating amazing copy, and I'm just having a blast doing it. And so that's how it started.
Great. And then the next chapter, when did you start adding people to the team?
So every year I grew. Every year, year one was 80, and then year two was 109, and then 119, and then I jumped to 121, 139. And by the time I hit about 200 in revenue, I couldn't do it all myself.
Yep.
So I started enlisting my creative writing friends who said, we don't know how to write for tech companies. And I said, guess what? I'll teach you. So in parallel, I developed a series of training modules and I taught them. And so I would sub the work and began to grow with this expanded team of freelancers. And over time, we got to about $500,000 in business. And that was in 2016. So 2016, right. we were at about the $500,000 mark in business. I had, a team of about 10 to 15 trusted freelancers. We brought on some graphic design freelancers. We had a couple of videographers. So we had a couple of project managers. So we had a nice little team and we had a fairly solid client base.
And what would the full-time equivalent been of everyone there? Because I'm sure the freelancers wouldn't have been working full-time.
I would say at that time, I probably had 7 people that were full-time.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And the rest, and they were just working, they were freelancers, but working exclusively with me.
Right.
And then the rest, had their own freelance business. They're working for others and me. Yep.
Right. And so where are you at now with the team?
So we're at close to 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
I would say we have 30 employees.
Yep.
We have about 20 full-time contractors, and then we have about 50 part-time contractors.
So would you say about 70 full-time equivalents now, all up?
Probably 60 to 70 full-time equivalents, yeah.
Well done, Gail. That's amazing growth.
Thank you.
Do you any other numbers that you can share to illustrate the growth of the business over the years?
Yeah, so we went from that $500,000 in 2016 to the next year, I think we were at 1.5, somewhere between 1.5 and 2. Then we jumped to 3. Then this year, then we jumped to 4. This year, we thought we were going to do 4. And as I mentioned to you, as we were sort of prepping for this, we revised our number 3 times. So this year we went from, thought it was going to be 4, then we revised it to 5, then revised it to 6. And now we should be closing this year at $7 million.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I've got a great team. I mean, amazing team of people.
I was going to ask, what do you think's driven that growth? You almost doubled your projections this year. What's the driver there?
So COVID was a big driver. A lot of people that only marketed in events started looking for online solutions. Technology companies in general, their products and services are constantly changing. And so they need to constantly refresh their marketing. I think we've had a lot of publicity. So there's been a lot of marketing. We're ranked the 7th best company to work for in Canada with less than 100 employees. We were ranked by Forrester as one of the top marketing agencies in the world for technology companies. I made it as one of the top 10 women in cloud. So just kind of a little bit more noise and buzz, nothing that we've done deliberately.
Yep.
We haven't done a lot of deliberate marketing.
When was the moment you felt like you'd succeeded?
Oh, I haven't hit that moment yet, Corey. I sit down with my business coach and, a couple of weeks ago, she said, why aren't you doing this? She was asking me. And I said, because I still feel like an imposter. I still haven't completely shaken that imposter syndrome.
It's more common than people think.
Yes. Yeah.
What does success look like to you?
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, the plan is to get the company to, 20 to 30 million and then look at an exit strategy of selling. So I think for me, success looks like still some function in the business and with some more travel. So I love to travel.
Yep.
But I don't see myself, I get excited by the stories we're telling. I'm excited by how technology is shaping the world. I mentioned to you earlier, we're doing a lot of philanthropic work. So we work a lot. I'm a co-founder of an organization called the WIT Network. We're a global organization helping advance women's careers in technology. Mm-hmm. And I'm the philanthropic chair. So I lead an initiative that we've got in the country of Haiti and we're educating young girls through a partnership with the school there, teaching them technology, leadership skills, English. So all of those things, are just really exciting to me. So I guess I just keep on doing those things. That's what success looks like. Yeah.
Well, as I said before we hit record, when you do get back to travel, you must make your way out to Tasmania here. It's very much like Canada and as other people, but also another one of your passions of golf. There's 4 or 5 world-class golf courses here. So please come and visit.
I really would love to do that. I think that would be amazing. Everything you told me about Tasmania has got me really excited. And as I mentioned, I've been working with an Australian partner in the past year, and so I've gotten to know them a little bit. And their lead of marketing, she lives in Tasmania, so she's been telling me how great it is too.
Which part of Tasmania do you know? Is it Hobart or?
I think it is Hobart. I think it is. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. There's another connection. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast-growing business?
Oh, discipline. So it doesn't matter what you do. Well, I guess it does matter what you do, but don't get stressed out if you don't have a huge budget. Don't get stressed out if you don't have a lot of people or a lot of things, but get really disciplined and just do it consistently. And I'll give you an example. When I started my business in 2005, I Googled my name and nothing came up. And I thought, well, that's not very good. How are people going to find me? What am I going to do? And I thought, I don't control my online narrative. I mean, my name did come up, but, from a couple of oblique posts and nothing that was consistent. And so I thought, I've got to let people know that I'm a serious marketer in the Microsoft ecosystem. So I began to post regularly in 2 places, LinkedIn and Twitter. That was it.
Right.
And I posted on a regular basis. And I wrote blogs, and I would put some blogs on my website and post. But I didn't have a huge budget. I just did that regularly. And one day, after doing this for about 2 years, I got a phone call and from somebody who wanted to have a meeting with me. And I went to meet with them potentially to do some business. And I was used to having these kinds of meetings where you go in, you pitch your services, you talk about what you can do. They're looking at 3 bids. They come back and make a decision with one of the 3. I walked into this meeting room. And there's a woman there. She looked up, she saw me, she said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm meeting you." She jumped up, she ran over, she hugged me, and she said, "I have read all your blogs. I follow you on Twitter. I read your LinkedIn posts. I know you can help us. Microsoft just gave us a $10,000 MDF funds.
Yep.
What can you do?" It was I say it was the shortest sales cycle of my life, but it was actually the same length as any other sales cycle because my online presence had been working for me before I ever met with the client.
Oh, that's great.
So, so I tell clients, don't get excited if you don't have a big budget. You can do lots of things. Just be consistent about it. Don't do start and stop. Don't change your message. Don't, comment on all different kinds of things. Get really focused on what you want to talk about.
Yeah, I agree with that in marketing. Yeah. How did you fund your business over the years?
Through clients. So through actual work. So we have no debt. We have no debt. We've never had debt.
No investors.
No investors, just, myself.
Yep. If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
Well, the industry I'm in, I love. I wouldn't change the industry at all. I love the tech industry. I love the tech sector. I love the Microsoft partner ecosystem. It's the most mature partner ecosystem of any software company. They have 300,000 partners around the world.
Yeah.
And it is the ecosystem that does the most in B2B, which is where there's money. They're spending money. It's not freeware. It's not shareware. It's not for profit. There's money. So. I think I think I chose a good market. And so I do, I really like what I'm doing. Yeah.
Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
Oh yeah. I don't know if they can learn from it. I would say it was my divorce.
Right.
So, when I got to 2016 and we were running about $500,000, I was in the throes of starting to scale back. So I was in a place where, hey, I've done this great thing. I thought I was in this really happy marriage. We've been married about 22 years. And I thought we were planning for retirement together. I didn't know he was actually planning for retirement with another woman, but that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
But so I was in this place where all of a sudden I wasn't financially secure the way I needed to be. and I did not know what my future was going to look like. And and so that was my inciting incident. That was, why did Bilbo Baggins leave the Shire? Because there was an adventure, right? There has to be an inciting incident for the story the transformative story to occur.
Yep.
So this was really my real story. And this is where I really turned into a company. I picked up the phone. I called a mentor of mine that had been my mentor for a number of years, an amazing man named Paul Burton at Canada. And I sat down with Paul and I said, I've got this business. It's generating about, $500,000 a year. Clients love us. Could I ever sell this? And he looked at everything and he said, absolutely not. He said, you need 4 things if you want to sell your business. He said, the first thing you need is IP. Mm-hmm. And he said, in your business, that's probably some kind of software. And the second thing you need clients that are going to engage on a regular basis with you, not these one and done projects. Mm-hmm. The third thing you need is employees, not contractors. And the fourth thing you need is a sales team. It can't just be you doing all the selling.
Yep.
And I had none of those things. So at that point, I made that decision that I was going to start getting those things and building on those things. And, when you put a focus on what you want to do and you put a plan together and you tell the universe that this is where you're going, the universe jumps in. Mm-hmm. and things just happen. And that's when we just started to grow, really started to grow.
Yeah. What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
Process.
Mm-hmm.
Process. Early days to intuitive brilliance. So, and not that I'm intuitively brilliant, but we were doing a lot of things intuitively. We were just doing, projects based on what we thought was going to work. But as you grow, to have the level of excellence that you wanted to have every single time you go into a client engagement, because I'm not going to be in every single client engagement. And we had to make sure that people were following the methodology. So I think the process, which is really hard for me, but I hired some great people who are really good at it.
Yeah.
So that was really, really important.
What have you enjoyed the least about managing the fast growth?
What have I enjoyed the least? I would say having to follow the process. Yeah. So, it's funny, just before this podcast, I got an email from somebody in my team who said, Gail, you're not following the process and you're messing us all up here and you're frustrating the team. And you need to, you can't just operate the way you did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so, that's probably the biggest challenge for me.
What do you love most about growing a small business?
Oh, I love the people. I love watching the growth. I mean, the people that work on our team and on our leadership team have been with me, a lot of them right out of college and university. We've all grown together, and we'd all take a bullet for each other, and we just have a nice mesh, and I love that. And the other thing I love is this ability to give back. So, with growing a business, we start to make more money. We start to become profitable. Those profits are shared equitably across the whole company. So we share them with people. And then we also share with, underprivileged and not-for-profit organizations, and we give back where we can. So I think that's just, the best part. It's a really great part.
Yeah. On that profit share, how do you do that? Is it pro rata to their wage, or is it just split evenly across?
It's split evenly. Yeah, it's split evenly. And and it's based on how much profitability we have. And yesterday, we just introduced a new program, which is it's incentive-based selling. So it's, if you're part of the selling team, you're going to get a percentage of profit of that particular deal, as long as that deal is finishes up in a profitable place, above a certain margin. So everybody's pretty excited about that.
What has been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
Letting go.
Yep.
So the biggest thing, letting go. It's, when you did it all yourself, it's so hard. It's so hard. I will say I'm really lucky. I have the best COO. I hired him a year ago, and he and I worked together 25 years ago, and we were really, really got along very well. And he went on to run some huge organizations as CIO, as COO, doing a lot of global, large, and a lot of M&A activity. So he's very seasoned, really experienced. And he was in a place where he wanted to work, but he didn't want the big job with the big, the travel and all the challenges. And so, yeah, he came on, and he's helping me let go for sure. He's helping me let go. He's putting a lot of structure. He's brought a lot of maturity, and he's really, really helping me take this to the place I want to take it.
What is the number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
Well, I do think that whole idea of letting go is really big. I mean, I've watched over the years a lot of entrepreneurs. You start your company, you're very entrepreneurial, and then you get to this place where you can't run it with that skill set anymore. When you get to a certain size, you can't run it with that entrepreneurial skill set anymore. So you have to let people step in and take over and do the things that are going to allow you to scale and grow. And, what we're trying to do is take my entrepreneurial spirit and skill set and guide it in the right way so that I can bring the best of it to our organization without hampering the scalability and the growth that we need.
Yep. Be the change you want to see in your business. Become more productive and less stressed with our free Transform Your Performance online course. Once you see the benefits, put your entire team through the course at no cost. We start out by telling you the secret to guaranteed success, then over 100 lessons help you be more focused, present, productive, and feel more in control about work. growasmallbusiness.com. Can you talk to how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice to those listening?
Oh yeah, you've got to hire for the best. You've got to forget hiring. Now we have a lot of family. We're a family-run business. So a lot of my family work in the business, and it's worked out well. And we also have hired a lot of interns that are family members of teams here. We've hired friends of people, but we've had a lot of mistakes that way too. Yep. So we've learned that it's okay to hire family and it's okay to hire friends if you're doing your due diligence and they come up as the top of the top of the top. Yeah. But, at the levels, the kinds of companies we're delivering to, and at the level we want to deliver, we have to have the best in the business, and marketing's changing constantly. So we have to constantly shift and change with it. We have to stay abreast of what the new trends are. We have to understand what's working and what's not working. And so to do that, I need really strong people.
What are some things you'd recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
Well, we have a wellness director. In addition to our HR person.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, her whole focus is wellness. Mm-hmm. So we have daily meditation. We have, monthly online games, trivia games. We've done retreats. We have awards. We do awards. We do. She's introduced a lot of new benefits. We just introduced a mental health benefit for everybody, including contractors. So yeah, her whole focus is wellness. Yep. And really making sure that people are able to, I want the people in my company, if their kids are playing a soccer game at 2:00 in the afternoon, I want them to go to it. Yep. I don't want them to feel like they got to lie about it or not go, or they have to work. No, go. And, we have jobs to do. You have to get your jobs done, but that doesn't mean that you have to take a meeting at 2:00, shift that meeting to another time, go to your soccer game. Yep. And be there for your family and for your kids.
Yeah, it's always been bizarre to me how people are so rigid in that kind of structure. You have to be here 9 to 5. I have to see you working. The irony is people would work harder if they felt more trusted and left alone. And as we've seen after COVID, a huge structural shift in I think something like 83% of people now would prefer to stay at home or at least in a hybrid model. And it's just the new way of working.
Yeah. And I mean, sure, people can not do their job, but it will show up. It shows up very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So, but we don't have that issue. We just don't have that issue with people not working.
Tell our audience how you've handled balance.
Oh, balance. That's a really good one. I I do yoga twice a week, and I do it over Zoom. So I have a personal yoga coach, and we do that. I think I just mentioned to you, I moved to Peterborough, which is a little bit more laid back town. My sister lives here.
Yep.
And it's closer to my kids. So I'm able to kind of shut off at the end of the day. And I go hike, I go biking, I go kayaking. I like to play golf. I've joined a ladies' league here, playing golf once a week. So it's a discipline. You have to schedule it into your calendar. You have to do it. But I love to work too. So yeah. I'm always very happy when I'm working.
Yeah, that old adage, find a job you love and you never work a day in your life.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. The other thing, my North Star, is the Zig Ziglar quote, which is, you will get everything you want in life if you help everybody else get everything they want in life.
Yeah.
So I love that, because that's really what the whole mentality that we try at Mercer-Mackay for all of our employees. What do you want? What do you want personally? What do you want professionally? How can we help you get there? And it's the same with our clients. What do you want? How do we help you get there? And I was telling somebody else, I almost feel like it's a selfish adage, because every time you practice it, so much more comes back than what you ever give out. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Zig Ziglar. I think he passed away a few years ago, but he started in sales, I think in the 50s. And just a really nice, humble man, and had a real servitude attitude towards sales, which obviously worked because he was genuine and authentic, and that way he built a strong rapport with people and they trusted him.
Yeah. I haven't read a quote or watched a clip or something that I haven't been inspired by him. Yeah.
How much professional development have you invested in yourself over the years? So training, conferences, events, courses, podcasts, etc.
Yeah, I go to lots of conferences. I constantly training. I mean, I'm a big fan. I don't know if you know Jeff Walker, who wrote the book Product Launch Formula.
Yep.
Brendon Burchard, a lot of those guys. Ray Edwards, one of the greatest copywriters I know. Been in his master classes and taken a lot of his coaching. I just finished taking Stuart McLean's Tribe, which is about building an online community, building a strong online offering, an online community. And then, and I've got, business mentors, and I've got a great coach right now, business coach that I'm working with through to the end of December. So yeah, I invest in that.
Yeah, that was the next question, is mentors or coaches. You mentioned that one earlier. So you found you've got a lot of value out of both mentors and coaches over your journey?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. You really need that perspective. And then my girlfriends, I've got a lot of friends in business, women in business, who, give me a really interesting perspective too. So I've got that, I don't know if you call them cheerleaders or an advocacy group, or, just peers. You talked about your mates that you go away with, and you said you're all businessmen, and you kind of do that same thing, I think, on those events.
We've got an annual bushwalk. There's 7 or 8 of us that go deep into the bush here in Tasmania for 3 nights, 4 days, and talk a lot of shit. But we're all business owners, we're all parents, so it's really interesting. The conversation ambles on as we walk through the bush, and at night before we pass out in the tents pretty early. But yeah, it's great. It's awesome having that peer support and just be able to bounce problems or ideas off other business owners.
Well, and you're also a coach. You do a lot of coaching.
I do a little bit.
Talk to me about how you find, what do you think about that in your role as coach? How much value does that bring your clients and the people that you work with? Yeah,
it's interesting. There's 3. So I sit on 5 boards at the moment, chair 3 of those boards, and I coach 2 of the leaders of those 2 of those 5 businesses, and I really enjoy it because a lot of the times both of them are pretty much solo leaders, and they're building a leadership team underneath them. And it's really exciting to work with them, and they've got no one really to lean on. I'll get an occasional text or call on a weekend. One of them will, something's happened and they'll want to just talk it through. And I find a lot of joy out of being able to share my experience and my opinion. It's up to them what they do. Obviously they've got to act. But I revel in that time, but it's not something I'm really focusing on. But my second cousin in country Victoria, she's got a couple of hair salons that I've been mentoring or coaching her for the last year or so, and that business has transformed massively since she started. And again, I just love seeing the results come through, and people, the way they change their thinking based on, I can throw at them my experience. I've made that mistake. I fucked this up. I wouldn't do that because this is what I found when I went down that path. And it's really good to be able to lean on all those mistakes and the experience that you've had over. I've now had 21 years of it, building up all the 22 years of mistakes. So yeah, I really enjoy it.
And do you find, for the most part, that the people you coach are pretty open to it, or do you sometimes do they resist, or what's?
Well, I'm pretty selective, selective on the boards I work with, or the businesses I work with, and the boards I sit on. I don't work with assholes for a start. That's my first rule. So I won't take a position or coach anyone if they're not a nice person, if they're not open to change, and if they're not humble and their ego's in check. So, because it's really important. It's just it's really disheartening to work with someone and they say all the right things, they go off and they don't act on any of the advice, or they rail against your advice. That's fine not to agree all the time, but if it becomes a pattern or a trend, then it's just not working for either party. So yeah, I'm very selective about who I work with.
It's interesting. When I am asked to mentor somebody, I always make it time bound. I usually make it a 3-month experience, and so that we can assess it at the end. And because you're right, otherwise it could just turn into like bad dating. It's it's I should have swiped left, but that's so I find that that's really helpful, and especially if it's time bound and you can set a time bound goal at the start of it, and then at the end measure if you've achieved it, and if you should continue or just end. So.
I'm pretty brutal, direct and blunt. I actually just got a LinkedIn recommendation from a client I've been working with. We've got launching an online subscription business for hair color, which I'll obviously never use, but and he asked me before he posted it live whether he could use the word blunt, and then in brackets he put in a positive way, and I said, yeah, use whatever words you want, because you're describing exactly how I am. So if I'm seeing it's not working out, I call it and say, look, I don't think you're getting value out of this, we're not listening or changing, so let's wrap it up here, or I'll help you find another mentor or coach.
That is awesome. Our people officer, who does all our wellness, that's her favorite thing. She said, clear is kind.
That's Brene Brown.
Brene Brown. Oh, Brene Brown says that. So she must have gotten that. She's a huge Brene Brown fan, as am I.
Where she got it from.
So, okay. Yeah. Clarity is kind. And it's true,
It is. True. Absolutely. Yeah. Do you have a board of directors or advisors?
I do. We have a board of advisors of about 4 people that have been helping us. And they're, right now they're volunteer. But we're looking at moving them into, a nominal annual fee for their role, because their advice is so valuable, and I, trust them, and they're amazing people, and I feel like they should be compensated for that.
That's good. Yeah. How often do you meet?
So typically, I haven't met with them as a group, but that's when we compensate. That's what we'd like to move to, or maybe twice a year, 3 times a year, meet as a group, so they can all benefit from each other as well. Yeah. But I usually meet with each of them about twice a year.
Yeah, it's good having that structure above you, even if you're the sole owner and the leader of the business. You've then got someone that's holding you to account, and it really forces you to prepare and work on the business, wrap up, the strategic thinking, documentation, your numbers, so you can 3 times a year, or how often you do it, might be monthly, that you're presenting that to someone else, and they're punching holes in it, asking you hard questions. Really makes you then change what your behavior is during the workday to work on those things that are going to add greater value in the longer term.
Yeah. And then we also have a very small board of directors that we just formed internally, which is our corporate lawyer, our controller, our COO, myself, and our chief people officer.
Yep. Great. Yeah. All right, Gail, we're on to our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
Oh, I think the hardest thing is fear. It's overcoming that fear of whatever the fear is of the moment. Can I really do this? We talked about the imposter syndrome. Do I have enough capital? Where am I going to get my next deal, my next client? You're doing it alone. You're alone. And there may be other people that have grown small businesses, and that's where you network with them and you cling to them. but it's a lonely place. And a lot of people don't understand. They're not an entrepreneur. They haven't ever had their mortgage on the line, or, had to extend. I remember there was one time when I had every credit card maxed out. I had my line of credit maxed out on my house. And my best friend from high school was doing my books at the time, threw $18,000 from her line of credit into our bank account because one of our suppliers was, 120 days overdue. And it was a big amount of money that we were trying to collect on. Those kinds of things are scary. Those kinds of things are scary, and you do them alone.
Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
The 1 Minute Salesperson. I read it in 1982 or 85 or something.
Who's the author of that?
That's Spencer Johnson, the Who Moved My Cheese guy. It's really old. It's so old, it's not in digital format.
Okay.
You have to actually buy the book. But it's a parable style, and it talks about service. Sales is service. It's not sales.
I've read that. I read that in the 90s.
Yeah. And I still like it. I keep it by my chair. I just pick it up and look at it from time to time, just to remind me this is what we're in. We're in the service business.
Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
Oh, a podcast would be How to Grow a Small Business. I think that's got to be one of the all-time favorites. Well, no, it's good. I definitely listen to it. I mean, I rove on podcasts, so I don't have any that I listen to, but Ray Edwards has got a great podcast that I listen to, the copywriter that I talked about before. So there's a few, but I definitely, your podcasts are great, and anybody's listening here should be listening to all of them if they haven't, because there's some great stuff I've already picked up from the ones I've researched so far. And online learning tools, I don't really have any that I can think of right now. Sorry.
One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
Yeah, our marketing platform, Daxi. So if anybody wants to check it out, it's DAXAI.com.
AI.com. Great. We'll link through to that in the show notes.
Yeah. Well, and I think this is broadcasting in August, and in August is when we're going to be launching our second beta, which is Marketing Fundamentals.
Yep.
And for people accepted into it, it's a free program. So,
right. Awesome. Yeah. All right. Final and my favorite question. What would you tell yourself on day one of starting out? I would say, you've got this, girl. Mm-hmm. Just go for it. Yeah. Great. Fantastic, Gail. Wonderful journey. And thank you for sharing that with us today. I think the audience will get a lot of value out of what you shared with us. And congratulations to you and the team, particularly the last couple of years, building your leadership team as well. I think it's a great move, and congratulations. Thanks, Troy. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for doing this podcast. It's a really, really great service. Love it. And I'll be listening to more. And in a couple of years, I'll be out there swinging a club with you. Yeah, thank you. Like I said before we hit record, they're building another 2 world-class golf courses here in Tasmania, just out of Hobart. So that'll make 6 that you'll have to trek around and defeat. I will make that one of my bucket list objectives. Great. We'll see you there. All right. Thank you. That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.